What happens when a CEO disguises himself as a night janitor and finds someone else already working that shift, unpaid? Matthew Keene stared at the report on his desk, jaw tight. Store number 5 again. Out of the 7 locations his father had left him, this one always had the most complaints. Poor cleanliness, late openings, slow service. He'd hired a new district manager 6 months ago to turn things around, but nothing had changed. "I'm done guessing," he muttered. He stood, shoved the reports aside, and grabbed the folder with the store's employee roster. He didn't recognize most names. That wasn't surprising. He'd inherited the company 5 years ago, and most of the frontline workers had never met him. The CEO didn't show up to mop floors or clean bathrooms. Until now. He called up an old friend from college, a makeup artist in LA, and by the next day, he had a new-look messy gray hair, thick glasses, and a slight limp. Clothes from a second-hand shop. A fake named Marvin. The store opened at 7. Matthew, now Marvin, showed up at 6:30 that morning on time for janitorial training. The store manager, Todd, didn't even look up from his phone when Marvin introduced himself. "Janitor? Yeah, whatever. Just grab a mop. Don't touch the register. Don't talk to customers. Bathrooms get cleaned twice a day. Trash before lunch and before close."
Got it.
"Sure thing," Matthew said quietly. The place was understaffed. Only 4 floor workers and 1 cook showed up that morning.
2 called out sick.
Another had quit the day before. Todd didn't seem to care. Run lean, save hours, Todd muttered to himself while sipping some energy drink behind the counter. By 10, Matthew had already cleaned the front entrance, taken out the trash, and mopped the back hallway. That's when he noticed something odd. The men's restroom was already clean. Really clean. Like someone had scrubbed it that morning. He checked the schedule. The night janitor had supposedly clocked out at 10 p.m. But the logbook had fresh entries. Dated 5 a.m. "What's this?" he whispered. He decided to check the cameras later. He had access to the back end through corporate. But for now, he kept working. Lunch was chaos. Short-staffed, long lines. One of the cashiers, a young woman named Lacey, looked overwhelmed but kept moving fast, polite to every customer. Matthew noticed Todd stayed in the back, pretending to organize papers. At 5, Matthew finished his day's shift.
He was supposed to leave then.
But he didn't. He stayed in the alley behind the store, waiting. At 5:40, a beat-up sedan pulled into the lot. A man stepped out, late 40s maybe, wearing a faded cap and boots with holes in them. Matthew watched as the man unlocked the back door with his own keycard. He hadn't seen this guy all day. He wasn't on any shift roster. He followed him in quietly. The man moved like second nature, grabbed supplies, changed mop water, loaded trash bins.
Cleaning everything. Fast.
Efficient. "Hey," Matthew said finally, stepping out from behind a shelf. "You work here?" The man jumped, startled. "You're the new guy, right? Marvin?"
"Yeah."
"I'm Ray. I just do some cleaning nights. I didn't see your name on the schedule." Ray hesitated. "Just fill in sometimes. Store's been short on cleaning help, so I cover when I can." "For free?" Ray looked around, then lowered his voice. "They cut my hours to part-time last year. Said they couldn't afford full-time janitors anymore. But the place was getting filthy. Customers complained. So I just kept showing up. Figured someone had to do it." "You don't get paid?" "I clock out at 10, but I stay till about 2. Sometimes 4 if it's bad."
"Don't tell Todd, though."
"He says I make the others look lazy." Matthew stared at him, stunned. "You've been cleaning 4 to 6 unpaid hours a night?" Ray nodded, wiping sweat from his brow.
"Yeah."
"I don't mind. Just trying to keep the place from falling apart." Matthew didn't respond. His heart pounded. He felt sick. Later that night, back at his hotel, Matthew logged into the camera system. Sure enough, Ray had been doing this every night for months.
Quiet.
Alone. Unpaid. The next morning, Matthew walked in at 6:30 again. Todd barely glanced at him. Don't touch the back room today. Got some district guy coming in later. Okay. At noon, Matthew stepped outside and called his assistant. Clear my schedule. I'm staying here the week. He hung up and looked back at the building. He'd come here thinking he had lazy workers.
But now,
He realized someone had been carrying this store on his back. Quietly. Invisibly. Without a single dollar more. Matthew arrived 20 minutes early the next morning, wearing the same faded uniform and hunched walk. The sky was still dark. The street was quiet. Inside the store, the lights were still off, but he saw movement through the glass. He unlocked the side door with a temporary keycard Todd had given him the day before. He stepped inside slowly, careful not to make noise. The air smelled faintly of bleach and coffee. Ray was already there, crouched near the mop sink, refilling a bucket. His sleeves were damp. He looked up, startled at first, then nodded. Didn't expect anyone in this early. I couldn't sleep, Matthew said. Figured I'd start early, too. Ray gave a tired chuckle and wrung out a mop. You'll get over that. Matthew helped him carry a bin of cleaning supplies to the front. They worked side by side in silence for a few minutes. The floors were still wet from Ray's earlier pass. The windows gleamed. You ever think about asking for those hours back? Matthew asked casually. Ray paused, then resumed wiping down the counter. Tried once. Got told it wasn't in the budget. After that, I stopped asking. You live nearby? 15 minutes if traffic's light. I take the bus. My truck died 2 years ago. Matthew nodded slowly. You got family? Yeah. My wife passed in 2019. Got a daughter, Kayla. She's 16. Works weekends at the grocery store. Before Matthew could respond, the front door clattered open. Todd walked in, sunglasses pushed up on his forehead, coffee in hand. You two planning to wax the entire city, or just this dump? He said, voice sharp. Ray gave a neutral nod and returned to cleaning. Matthew simply muttered, morning. Todd didn't acknowledge it. He walked to the back, muttering something under his breath. As the day went on, the store filled in. Lacey came in again, this time with circles under her eyes. She went straight to the register without a word. Another staff member, Diego, arrived late and got a lecture from Todd in the back. Matthew overheard parts of it. If you can't show up on time, I'll cut your damn hours. Don't test me, Diego. Diego didn't argue. He just nodded quickly and pulled on his apron. By mid-morning, Matthew was assigned to clean the walk-in freezer. As he pushed open the heavy door, he noticed a stack of expired meat on the top shelf. The packaging was bloated and discolored. He stepped back out and caught Lacey near the prep station.
Hey.
That meat in the freezer, it's bad. Yeah, she said quietly. I told Todd last week. He said use the newer boxes and leave the rest. He's waiting for inventory to come in before tossing it. Matthew frowned. That doesn't make sense. Can't serve spoiled food. He doesn't care. He says as long as we don't open the packages, they don't count toward waste. Matthew's jaw tightened. Has anyone gotten sick? One woman last month. She called and said her kid threw up after eating a burger. Todd told her she must have had food poisoning from home. Matthew stepped away and went into the storage room. He pulled out his phone and discreetly took photos of the expired meat. Then he turned and saw something else, a stack of timesheets in a crate marked miscellaneous payroll. He flipped through them. Ray's name was there. Every week showed exactly 20 hours. No mention of any overnight shifts. No sign of the extra time he'd seen with his own eyes. That afternoon, the regional safety inspector arrived unannounced. Matthew had called him anonymously that morning. Todd panicked. Why didn't anyone tell me we were getting a visit? He barked, pacing the office. The inspector, a stern woman in her 40s, did a full walk-through. She took notes, asked for temperature logs, checked expiration dates, and inspected the fryer area. She paused longest at the freezer. Afterward, she pulled Todd aside. "You've got meat that should have been discarded 10 days ago. You're on the edge of a shutdown warning. One more violation and this location could be suspended pending investigation." Todd tried to blame the staff. "They're careless. I've been telling them," but she cut him off. "You're the manager. If they're careless, you trained them that way." She left after issuing a formal warning. Todd stormed into the back room and slammed the freezer door. Then he turned to Matthew.
You, new guy.
"You tell that inspector anything." Matthew looked at him calmly. "No, you better not. I'm not losing my job because some janitor wants to play hero." He walked off, muttering again. Later, while cleaning the staff break area, Matthew found a sticky note taped to the microwave. In small, neat handwriting it read, "Don't give up. I see you trying." It wasn't signed. He pocketed it silently. That night, instead of leaving at 5, Matthew stayed again. He waited in the alley till Ray returned. This time he helped him clean. They worked for hours. Ray showed him how to get grease out of tile grout using a vinegar solution and steel wool. He explained how to strip the wax from the floor without damaging the sealant. "I used to do this full-time at a hotel downtown," Ray said, "before they outsourced to a cleaning company." "You ever think about going back to that kind of work?" "Not much left out there. And I don't have a car anymore. Can't take jobs across the city." At one point, Ray leaned against the mop handle, breathing heavily. "You okay?" Matthew asked.
Yeah.
"Just tired. My knees are shot. Doctor says I should stop this kind of work soon. But I can't afford to." Matthew didn't answer. He just kept cleaning. The next day, Matthew arrived before sunrise again. This time, he went straight to the office before Todd arrived. He opened the filing cabinet and scanned the employee records. Ray's file was thin. One emergency contact. No write-ups. No pay raises in over 3 years. At 10:30, a delivery truck arrived. Matthew noticed the driver hesitating at the loading dock. When he approached the driver's side, "Been trying to reach someone for 20 minutes. No one's answering the back door." "I can help," Matthew said. He signed the form and helped unload boxes. When Todd finally appeared, he barked at the driver for being early. After the truck left, Matthew approached him. "Why don't you have someone assigned to receive deliveries?" Todd scoffed. "This place barely runs as it is. If I assign someone to the dock, I lose them on the floor. Think ahead." Matthew stared at him. "You could do it yourself." Todd glared. "I'm not the one getting paid to lift boxes." Matthew didn't reply. He walked back inside, hands clenched. That evening, he sat with Ray on an overturned milk crate behind the store. The sun was setting. The air was cool. "What would you do if things got better here?" Matthew asked. Ray looked surprised. "Like what?" "If you had full-time hours. Benefits. A raise." Ray gave a quiet laugh. "I'd fix my truck. Take Kayla to the coast. She's never seen the ocean." Matthew nodded. The next morning, he arrived at corporate headquarters. Clean-shaven. Suit pressed. He walked into the boardroom where the HR director, regional manager, and legal counsel were already waiting. He laid out everything: photos, logs, video clips, payroll discrepancies.
He told them about Ray.
About the spoiled meat. About Todd's behavior. No one interrupted. When he finished, the room was silent. The HR director finally spoke. "Do you want us to handle the termination?" Matthew shook his head.
No.
"I'll do it myself." He stood and walked out, hands steady for the first time in days. Matthew arrived at the store just after 6 in the morning, this time in his usual tailored blazer. No disguise, no apron. The sky was still dim, the parking lot mostly empty except for a few early commuters trickling into the cafe next door. He waited by the side entrance, watching the street in silence. Ray showed up 5 minutes later, same worn boots, same quiet nod. Matthew stepped forward. I won't be joining you today, Ray. Ray's brow furrowed slightly. You all right? Matthew held out his hand. My name's Matthew Keene. I own this company. Ray blinked, uncertain. I've been working under the name Marvin the last few days. I needed to see for myself what was happening here. Ray didn't move. His face didn't change, but he stepped back once, as if the words hadn't registered. I'm not sure what to say, he said finally. You don't need to say anything, Matthew replied. You've done enough. More than enough. Ray looked down at the ground, then slowly nodded. All right. Matthew glanced at his watch. Go home for now. Someone's going to call you within the hour. There's a meeting you'll want to be part of later today. Ray hesitated. Am I in trouble?
No.
But a few other people are. That morning, Matthew sat in the back office, legs crossed, a stack of documents in front of him. Todd walked in 15 minutes late, tugging at the zipper on his jacket, coffee in hand. He stopped short when he saw Matthew. He paused. You were the janitor. Matthew didn't stand. That's right. Todd's eyes darted to the desk. Didn't know you were coming in today. You could have let me know. I didn't want you to clean up first. Todd gave a forced laugh, then caught the expression on Matthew's face and let the laugh die. Matthew slid a folder toward him. Read that. Todd opened it slowly. Inside were printed screenshots from the store's security footage, time-stamped logs of deliveries left unattended, incident forms never filed, and a summary of every employee's payroll discrepancies. At the very top was a list of violations from the health inspector's visit. Todd flipped through the pages, then closed the folder. I can fix this. No, Matthew said. You won't. Todd raised his voice a fraction. Look, it's a rough store, okay? High turnover. No shows. I've been doing what I can to keep the place open. You think you're going to find someone better? Matthew leaned forward slightly. I already did. He's been scrubbing grease off the floors for free while you sat in the back drinking energy drinks and blaming your staff. Todd's mouth opened, then shut again. Matthew stood. Your access is revoked. Your final paycheck's been processed. And don't try to swing by. Later security will be here within the hour to make sure you're gone. Todd looked stunned, then angry. You're making a mistake. Matthew didn't respond. Todd left without another word. By midday, the staff had gathered in the lobby. Matthew stood in front of them by the counter, sleeves rolled up, no clipboard, no speechwriters. Just him. Lacey stood near the espresso machine, arms crossed. Diego leaned against the wall, eyes wary. A few others from the mid-shift team hovered near the booths, unsure of what to expect. I've been here for the past few days, Matthew said. Most of you knew me as Marvin. No one said anything. I saw what you're dealing with. Short staff, broken systems, and a manager who didn't care about any of it. A few employees glanced at each other. I saw who kept this place running despite all that. I saw you, Lacey, taking double orders, staying on your feet for 6 hours straight without a break. I saw you, Diego, fixing the sandwich press in the middle of a rush because no one else would. And I saw others, quiet ones, holding everything together without complaints.
He paused.
But the one I want to talk about right now is Ray. Some heads turned. Ray's been cleaning this store overnight for months. Not because he was paid to. Because he couldn't stand seeing this place fall apart. He stayed invisible so the rest of you wouldn't have to deal with it. Lacey quietly wiped her hands on her apron. Diego stared at the floor. Ray's not just getting back pay. He's been promoted to facilities lead for the entire district. He'll be overseeing maintenance operations across all our locations, and yes, he'll be paid what he's worth. There was a quiet murmur among the team. Matthew continued. As for the rest of you, we're making changes. Starting today, this store's getting 2 additional hires funded immediately. We're bringing in a scheduling coordinator to stabilize the shifts. And every employee here is getting a one-on-one meeting with HR to review your role, hours, and compensation. A hand went up from the back, an older prep cook named Noreen, who'd often kept to herself. What happens when you leave again? She asked. What if the next manager's just like the last? Matthew nodded once. Fair question. That's why I'm not leaving it to chance. Starting next month, we're launching a direct reporting line from every store team to my office. No more waiting for someone like Todd to filter your concerns. You'll have a voice, and I'll hear it. A few of them still looked skeptical. Matthew didn't blame them. I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. I'm asking you to hold me accountable, the same way I should have been holding others accountable. The meeting ended quietly.
No applause.
Just quiet nods and a few looks exchanged between people who hadn't spoken much before. That was enough. By late afternoon, Matthew was back in the office, reviewing candidate files for the incoming hires. Lacey knocked once before stepping in. I didn't know who you were, she said. You weren't supposed to. She stepped forward, hesitant. I don't want a reward or anything, but there's someone who didn't come in today. His name's Alan. He used to take the weekend shifts, always early. Todd cut his hours to 1 day a week because Alan's on the spectrum and talks a bit slow. Said it made the line look bad. Matthew looked up sharply. What's Alan's last name? Carter. He typed quickly into the system. Alan's file came up, no warnings, no complaints, perfect attendance. I'll call him myself, Matthew said. And I'll make sure he gets the hours he earned. Lacey nodded once, then turned to leave. Lacey, Matthew said before she reached the door. You held the front together when no one else would. That doesn't go unnoticed. She didn't smile, but her shoulders relaxed a little. Thanks, she said and walked out. That evening, Ray returned to the store dressed in clean khakis and a button-up shirt. He wasn't carrying a mop. Matthew met him by the front counter. You're early, Matthew said. I didn't want to be late. You're not here to clean anymore. I figured, Ray said. Still feels strange. Come with me, Matthew said. There's someone I want you to meet. They walked through the back hallway, past the staff lockers, and into the training room, where a small team from regional operations had gathered. A new maintenance schedule was up on the wall. Ray's name was on it next to district lead. Matthew handed him a folder. Inside were his new responsibilities, his salary adjustment, and a company vehicle assignment. Ray stood still for a moment, then cleared his throat. I didn't do all this to get noticed. I know, Matthew said. That's why you deserve it. Ray looked around the room, then back at Matthew. You think the others will believe in this? They will, Matthew said, because they'll see someone like you in charge. Ray nodded slowly. Then, for the first time since they'd met, he smiled. Not out of relief. Not out of recognition. Just simple, quiet pride. Outside, the sun was starting to set. Inside, for the first time in a long while, the store felt like it belonged to the people who actually kept it running. 3 weeks later, Matthew returned to the store, this time without disguise or announcement. He parked near the rear lot and stepped out into the humid afternoon air. The building looked the same: faded siding, scuffed signage, but there was a different energy inside. Subtle, but unmistakable. As he entered through the front, he caught the quiet rhythm of a team in motion. Not perfect, but engaged. 2 customers in line were being helped quickly by a new hire, a young man with a confident posture and a steady voice. Behind him, Lacey was training someone at the espresso machine, speaking clearly and checking the temperature on the steamer with practiced focus. Matthew waited until she caught his eye. You're back, she said, brushing her hands on a towel. You want the truth or the tour?
Both, he said.
She pushed the towel into her apron, then gestured toward the back. Come on. Better to see it than talk about it. The hallway hadn't changed much, but the bulletin board now held a color-coded schedule, a laminated list of emergency contacts, and a printed sign that read, "No one gets left behind. Speak up. Stay human." Lacey paused near the break room door. "We lost one of the new hires last week. School schedule got complicated. But the other two are sticking. Still short some mornings, but we've got coverage most evenings now." Matthew nodded. "And the new coordinator?"
Mel. She's direct.
"Knows what she's doing. Doesn't take shortcuts." They stopped by the prep area. The freezer had been reorganized, shelves labeled, nothing past date. "Food safety?" he asked. "We log everything now."
Twice a day.
Mel checks it herself once a week. Matthews stepped into the back office. The desk where Todd once sat was now clean, stripped of clutter. A new manager sat at the terminal, mid-30s, sharp eyes, calm demeanor. He stood when Matthew entered. "Mr. Keene."
I'm Maron.
"I started last Monday." Matthew extended a hand. "How's the team treating you?" Aaron glanced toward the hallway. They were wary. Still are, a little, but they're honest. That helps.
Good. Keep earning that.
Back near the front counter, Matthew noticed Diego balancing a tray near the window. He caught Matthew's eye and gave a nod, nothing overplayed, just a quiet acknowledgement. Matthew walked toward the maintenance closet, unlocked the door, and flipped through the logbook mounted on the wall. Every section was signed off, times recorded, notes clear. He closed it and turned as Ray stepped in from the side hallway, clipboard in one hand, a small tool pouch on his hip. He looked more relaxed now, but there was still a tiredness behind his eyes. "You keeping up?" Matthew asked. Ray chuckled once. "Barely. I've got 3 stores under me now. One of them's in worse shape than this one ever was. I spend half my day on the road." "You holding up?" Ray shifted the clipboard under his arm. "I'm not used to sitting in meetings. But I'm figuring it out." Matthew gestured for him to come with him. They walked out to the loading bay. The sun was still up, casting long shadows across the pavement. "I heard from Kayla," Matthew said. Ray looked over, curious. "She sent a letter to corporate. Said she's proud of you. Said you never told her what happened." Ray exhaled slowly, eyes on the pavement. "Don't know how to explain it to her without sounding like I broke some rule." "You didn't," Matthew said. "You filled in where the company failed. That's not rule breaking. That's integrity." Ray didn't respond for a moment. Then he said, "She wants to apply for a scholarship next year. First in our family to go past high school. She's nervous." "Let her be. Nerves mean she cares. You'll walk her through it." They stood quietly, the sound of traffic in the distance. "I'm assigning you a field tech assistant," Matthew said. "Someone to handle the physical side when your knees give out. You'll lead, he'll follow." Ray raised an eyebrow. "You sure? You've earned more than a title, Ray. You've earned the right to stop working yourself into the ground." Ray gave a small nod. "Thank you." They walked back inside. As they passed through the kitchen, Matthew stopped near one of the new hires, tall, with a nervous smile, organizing the condiments. "You doing all right?" Matthew asked. The young man hesitated. "Still learning.
But yeah.
People here are decent." Matthew looked over at Lacey, who was showing a trainee how to reset the ice machine. She hadn't noticed him watching. "Good," he said. "Decent should be the minimum. We'll keep raising that bar." That evening, after the dinner rush, the team gathered in the back for their first store forum, a new initiative Matthew had rolled out across all locations. No hierarchy. No agenda. Just people talking. Chairs were set up in a circle. Matthew sat down beside the prep cook, Noreen, who was eating from a styrofoam container, her apron folded neatly on her lap. Aaron, the new manager, stood briefly. "I know this is new," he said. "Some of you barely know me. We'll keep it short tonight. Just one thing: if something's wrong, bring it. Doesn't matter if it's small or messy. We'll listen." He sat. At first, no one spoke. Then Diego cleared his throat. The mop heads still suck. They smear more than they clean. Lacey added, also, the night delivery truck keeps blocking the staff exit. It's a hazard. Someone's gonna trip. Aaron scribbled notes.
No defensiveness.
Just listening. Matthew watched the exchanges. No one had to raise their voice. No one had to defend their dignity. They were just being heard. After the meeting, Diego walked over to Matthew as the others filtered out. I didn't think anyone would actually care what I said.
They do now, Matthew said.
Because you made it matter. Diego looked unsure, then nodded once and left. Outside, the parking lot was mostly empty. Matthew leaned against his car, watching the storefront glow under the halogen lights. The windows were streak-free. The sign above the door flickered once, then steadied. Ray stepped out beside him, arms crossed, the clipboard tucked under one elbow. You heading out? Matthew asked. Yeah. Early start tomorrow. One of the other stores has a busted grease trap. Matthew looked over at him. When I first walked into this place, I thought I'd find laziness, neglect, maybe people taking advantage. Ray looked ahead at the road. What did you find? People trying to hold the roof up with their bare hands. Ray didn't smile. He just nodded. Matthew reached into his coat pocket and handed him a sealed envelope. What's this? Company bonus. It's not charity. It's recognition. End of quarter performance payout. Comes with the role now. Ray held the envelope without opening it. You sure the board approved this? They didn't need to. I'm the board. Ray gave a low chuckle. Guess I better make it count. You already did. As Matthew got into his car, he glanced back once toward the building. Inside, someone was wiping down the counter. Another was sweeping. The lights were still on, but the day was winding down. He started the engine, pulled out onto the road, and drove into the fading light. No disguise, no distance. Just a leader, finally back where he belonged. Connected, accountable, and wide awake.